Welcome back to Studio 5. Saying no to friends, to neighbors, even family can easily make us all feel guilty, but our next guest says it shouldn't. Studio 5 women's self-improvement contributor, therapist Julie Hanks is joining me with guilt-free strategies to saying no. I have to say I have gotten better at this over the years.
Good.
But that little word is such a trigger point for so many women in particular. Why is it so hard?
Because we think we need to do everything and be everywhere. I mean, it's just such a common, such a common problem. I've surveyed over 3,000 women, and 57% of the women I've surveyed, mostly in Utah, take on too many commitments, more than they can handle. So this is a huge problem. You're not the only one.
Oh, good.
And 74% say they have a difficult time saying no when asked to do something they don't want to do.
Well, there is
74.
There is no worse feeling than guilt, so I get it.
Right.
You know, 74% of people saying I would rather be burdened, maybe, or burnt
stressed out.
Yeah, than say no. And for a lot of women, I don't know, sometimes I feel this way, the word no feels selfish.
Right,
a little bit.
Right, and then we feel guilty because we don't want to be selfish.
Yeah.
We don't want to put someone else out. But the definition of guilt is a feeling, like a bad feeling when you've done something wrong. So I really want to hit the message home to our viewers that saying no is not doing something wrong. No is not a moral issue. No is not a moral issue.
Look, I just like broke out into a grin when you said that. Not a moral issue.
Yeah, and guilt, and we've talked about this before on the show, save guilt for sin. No is not a moral issue. It's just saying I can't do everything, and I get to pick and choose what that is. And so guilt needs to be saved for things when you've done something wrong.
Well, as if those statistics, you know, weren't proof enough, I found it interesting. In your book, The Burnout Cure, you devoted a whole chapter, right, to this topic.
Because it is such a common theme that I see in my therapy practice, and it's something that I've personally struggled with for a long time. And it wasn't until my 30s that I really got that, like, no is actually okay, and it's honorable. It's honorable to say no and mean it, and to say yes and mean it.
Well, how did you know then, when you say you've struggled with it personally? I'm thinking other women could learn from the lesson. How did you know when you weren't saying no enough? Do you know what I mean? How did you know when you were using that, you weren't using that word often?
I felt resentful, stressed out, overwhelmed, just kind of like this anxiety, chronic anxiety, like there's just too much going on, I can't track it. And then I realized that really I'm the only one who could do X, Y, or Z, you know, do this concert or speak at this event or volunteer for, it's like there are a lot of other people who are capable and willing.
Right.
I don't have to always say yes.
The word resentful rings true. I remember it was my sister who gave me this reality check, but I was venting and whining about something I had said yes to, and I was whining about the person I had said yes to. And my sister kind of cut me off. She does this often, and I appreciate it. And she goes, "Why are you blaming her? It's your problem." And really it is at that point.
Well, our time and our energy, that's our stewardship. That's our stewardship. It's no one else's. So no one can make you say yes or rope you into things. It can feel like it, but ultimately, it's our yes or it's our no. You have 5 reasons we shouldn't feel guilty about saying no. The first one, no sets boundaries. Yes, now think about 2-year-olds. They say no, no, I'm not going to bed, no, I'm not getting my PJs on. And I remember all of my kids, well, my 2 that have been teenagers, they have no problem saying no. No, I'm not doing that. No, that's not fair. And so somehow as women, we kind of unlearn how to say it. But it's a really important word for setting any kind of boundary. It's like the basic boundary, saying, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to. And that is our right to set boundaries. It's our job.
So we can act like a toddler at that point. In that case, or a teenager.
We can do it nicely with a smile on our face, but we can still say no. If other people can say it, my husband doesn't have a hard time. He's like, no, I don't.
Isn't that funny?
I'm gonna watch the game. No, I don't want to go out to dinner that night.
Men don't struggle with this.
I know. Culturally, I think there's more of the people pleasing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that I've struggled with too. Like I want everybody to like me and be happy.
Sure.
And
can saying no kind of help keep our lives in check, like our personal space in check?
Yeah, it really can. And no, it's an acceptance of our limitations. that we are not superhuman and we can't be everything to everyone at all times. And that's really hard. We like to live in that fantasy, right? That we can please everyone and do everything. And part of that, I think, is pride. You know, we want people to think we have it all together. But no is an acceptance of our humanity, that we get tired, that we don't want to do everything, that we can't. For example, you know, there's always many opportunities at school to volunteer, right? You get the papers home, and it's so my no has been accepting of my limitations has been, I'm going to do one thing per year. So I'm going to be assistant room mother to one child this year. That's my thing, and everything else is no, because I have other things going on, and I know what my limitations are, and I'm okay with it.
Isn't it so freeing when you do that too? I mean, it took me quite a few years before I realized, I love public speaking opportunities. I'm so grateful for those invitations. It took me a few years before I realized there's a point where it becomes too much. And so setting those boundaries of I'm only going to speak to, 2 groups per month or whatever, it was so freeing to me to set those personal rules for myself, so to speak.
And my biggest one, Brooke, honestly, is does it sound energizing or does it sound draining?
Good question.
And if I go, ooh, so sometimes I'll break my own rules and I'll do more than 2 a month or whatever my thing is for at that time, because I'm like, ooh, that sounds fun. Ooh, that gets me excited about my life. And if it doesn't, I'm like, no can do.
The biggest reason you say more women should say no is saying no prevents burnout.
Right. And so many women I work with in my practice come in and they're just like, I'm exhausted. I have nothing left to give. And ironically, in trying to do everything, we end up not being able to do anything for anyone because we get burned out. And so it's crucial for setting those priorities. And one woman at a workshop years ago said, and this stuck with me, she said, when I say no to something, I'm saying yes to something more important.
I love that.
And I think that's really important to remember, that every no is a yes to something that we value more highly. So saying no to a speaking engagement may mean yes to spending more time with your husband.
Right.
Or working on a lesson for church. Or so we get to prioritize, and no helps us prevent burnout and really say yes to the things that matter most to us.
And you also point out, I love this last point, you say saying no helps us identify our own needs, that when we verbalize that little word, it can kind of be a red flag for ourselves, like I need this, or I deserve that.
Yeah. So I've worked with a lot of women who are in transitions in their life, maybe empty nesters or youngest child going to school and trying to figure out what's next for me. And sometimes they're so paralyzed. I remember when it was paralyzed, I don't want to do the wrong thing or make the wrong choice, or I don't know what I want to do. I said, well, then let's just start with what are the definitely nots? No, definitely don't want to do this. Definitely don't want to go back to school. Definitely don't want. And so that's how we kind of find out what we want, is by eliminating the things that we don't want. And kids do that too. Like, I don't like to eat that. I don't like to eat that. Oh yeah, I want this.
Again, they do it well.
Yeah, and so no can help us recognize what we really value by saying definitely not. Then we find what we really want by the process of elimination.
It's a little word with a lot of power, isn't it?
It is.
A lot of power in that word. Julie, thank you so much.
Thanks, Brooke.
We want to let you know Julie has created a handy reminder for us. So you want to go to juliehanks.com. There's a free printable there of helpful phrases for saying no. You can print it out, memorize it.
Yes,
right?
And I'm also giving away a $100 Amazon gift card and 5 Burnout Cure books, so you can give them to your friends.
Fantastic.
Through the end of this week.
And that's on your website too?
Yeah.
Okay. juliehanks.com is where you go for that. We'll link you over from our website. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brooke.
We'll be right back.